The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. It's official. After months of insisting she will not be running for a national post, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte joins the vice presidential race. Mian Los Baños is joining us this afternoon over the phone to tell us more about this. Mian, good afternoon. How did this update play out?
Hi, Riza. Good afternoon. At past 1 this afternoon, Lakas CMD's vice presidential candidate withdrew his certificate of candidacy or COC, allowing Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte to file as a substitute candidate for the party. This is a copy of Sara Duterte's certificate of candidacy for vice president that her camp filed to Attorney Reynold Monsayak this afternoon. The Davao City Mayor filed under Lakas CMD, a political party she joined only last Thursday. Both Monsayak and Sara's spokesperson, Diloan Cebu Mayor Cristina Frasco, said the new vice presidential aspirant will issue her official statement and answer questions in due time. Before Duterte's camp arrived at the COMELEC office this afternoon, Lal Fernando Uy, who filed his COC for VP on October 8, withdrew his candidacy. Uy did not answer our queries on why he withdrew from the race. Meanwhile, Lakas CMD Chairman Senator Bong de Villa said in a statement that they are in the process of formalizing the adoption of a presidential candidate for the party, with whom Sara will be running in tandem. De Villa said the public should wait for the dream tandem that will help the country in its fight against pandemic. Earlier, Riza Ana Capella Velasco, Lakas CMD standard bearer, also withdrew her candidacy. Riza, we also asked Senator Bongo, vice presidential candidate of the ruling party, PDP Laban, about its plans now that it's about to head-to-head with the president's daughter. Asked if he's willing to withdraw his candidacy to support Sara's electoral bid, Goss said he is praying about it. And Riza, just to give you some updates, we are just awaiting the arrival of Senator Bato de la Rosa, who is earlier reported that will also withdraw his candidacy for presidential race. Riza?
Well, thank you for all those updates. That's Mian Los Baños reporting to us live from Intramuros City. Now, left-wing number urges the opposition to create a broad united force against the MAD or Marcos and Duterte tandem. Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate said the opposition should set aside differences to impede a, quote, dictatorial regime, a portmanteau of dictator and tyrannical. Zarate said that a victory for the so-called MAD tandem means a darker time in the Philippine history. Now, only 2 days left before the deadline for withdrawals and substitutions ahead of the 2022 national elections. Let's bring in this time Greg Gregorio to give us the latest. Greg, can you tell us the latest developments, how things are going there?
Riza, the COMELEC has so far received 10 withdrawals and 3 substitutions for national positions. The most recent are that of Ana Capella Velasco and Lyle Uy, who are presidential and vice presidential aspirants under the Lakas CMD party. Uy's withdrawal opened a substitution spot for the vice presidential bid of Davao Mayor Sara Duterte, which is now the 3rd substitution received by the poll body so far. Meanwhile, Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino Party is yet to clarify the withdrawal of presidential aspirant Antonio Valdez, indicating the substitution of Antonio Parlade Jr. Parlade is a former spokesperson of Anti-Insurgency Task Force NTF-ELCAC. Based on the tentative list of candidates released by the COMELEC, Valdez turned out to be an independent, though he filed a certificate of candidacy as the standard bearer of KDP. The poll body spokesperson James Jimenez said this means that based on initial evaluation, he must be treated as an independent candidate. Riza, Jimenez adds that KDP must have cleared this already with the COMELEC Law Department, as the time to correct how the aspirants' names would appear in the ballot has already lapsed on November 8th. Riza?
Thank you for that report. That's Greg Gregorio reporting to us live from Manila. Now, a political analyst likens the 2022 polls to the fictional Squid Games, or in layman's term, Matira Matibay. Professor Julio Tihanki says the sheer number of aspiring candidates can bring a tight race down to just a matter of 20 million votes. He says the more players chip in, the smaller margin they need to win. Tihanki added that we might see a repeat of the 1992 elections when we had 7 viable candidates and ended up with a minority president. That's former President Fidel V. Ramos, who won via a razor-thin edge over the late Miriam Defensor Santiago.
given the fact na masyadong maraming kandidato, no? Ito unahan lang sa as of last count, almost 63 million na, no? And if we average our voter turnout na 37, hindi lahat pupunta, no? So a candidate must capture only between 18 to 20 million votes, no? Ito parang political Squid Game, no? Matirang matibay kung sinong mauna sa 20 million.
The United Kingdom is hosting the COP26 summit in Glasgow aimed at bringing climate change under control. Now, a number of pledges have already been made for the cause. Let's find out more in this video.
Tackling climate change requires the world to remove more greenhouse gases from the atmosphere than it continues to emit. That's why majority of the world's top 20 emitters have committed to reach net zero emissions within decades. But what about those that remain? Countries like Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey are heavily reliant on the sale of coal, oil, and gas. Any net zero goal will require a drastic reduction in fossil fuel use, which hurts the country's self-interest in the short term. These countries are also led by populist leaders or strongmen who have shown some of the greatest resistance to reducing emissions at global forums like the United Nations COP meetings. Then there are developing countries like India and Mexico, which do not yet have access to green technologies or the financial heft to support them. They have been waiting for rich countries to pay in $100 billion each year to help fund projects that reduce emissions. But that money has yet to appear. Without it, it's unlikely they will commit to the net zero goal. Countries like Iran and Brazil have leaders who are opposed to the net zero goal until they get what they want from the rest of the world. Iran wants to be rid of sanctions, and Brazil wants compensation for protecting what's left of the Amazon forest. Finally, Australia fits in none of those baskets. It's a rich, developed, and democratic country whose economy is not wholly reliant on fossil fuels. And yet, climate denialism is rife in the country, with its media polluted with fossil fuel interests. Pressure from allies like the US and the UK has pushed Australia's Prime Minister to finally agree to a plan to zero out emissions by 2050. The top 20 emitters account for nearly 80% of global emissions. Tackling climate change will be almost impossible without ensuring that these holdouts change tack. That's likely going to be the hardest task for climate-minded world leaders for years to come.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque has been denied of a seat in the United Nations International Law Commission. But despite that, Roque says he's grateful to President Duterte and the agencies that supported him in what he calls a challenging campaign. Roque garnered the least number of votes among 11 candidates from Asia-Pacific states for the 8 available seats. Senator Richard Gordon is calling on the Justice Department to assist in going after former budget official Lloyd Christopher Lau. Lau has been accused of favoring certain firms, including formally in multi-billion government pandemic deals. He remains in hiding a week after Gordon's Blue Ribbon Committee ordered his arrest for repeatedly skipping hearings. And it's no longer toxic for Britney Spears, as the 39-year-old American pop star is now getting back her freedom. This after a Los Angeles judge terminated her 13-year conservatorship deal with her father that controlled her decision on life and finances since 2008. Calling it best day ever, Spears addressed her fans on Instagram by thanking the Lord and ending it with #FreedBritney. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.